They sold the house. My house. After I cleared every cent of their $280,000 debt. My name is Hannah Blake. And from wherever you're hearing this, tell me in the comments, have you ever been used by your own family like nothing more than a walking ATM? It was a Wednesday. The sun was sinking behind the pines that framed our porch. I just dragged myself home from a second hospital shift. Bone-tired but proud. Just the night before, my mother had sobbed against my shoulder. Said I'd saved the family. My father, who never hugged me once growing up, wrapped me tight and whispered, "You're our hero." I believed them. For the first time, I thought I mattered. Stepping out of my car, I still wore the smile from that memory. But something was wrong. The curtains were gone. The driveway? Empty. The flower beds my mom used to fuss over? Ripped out. I rushed to the front door. Key turned. But the house was gutted. Empty. Stripped. On the hardwood floor sat a white envelope with my name scrawled across it. "Thanks for fixing our credit, sucker. We moved to Florida with your brother. Don't call." No signature. No apology. Just that. The envelope slipped from my hands as I sank to the floor. Then I staggered outside, collapsed on the lawn like a ghost. Neighbors strolled by, waving like nothing had changed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to set something on fire. Instead, I sat there. Silent. Letting it all sink in. And then, I smiled. Because my parents didn't know one very small detail. When I paid off the house last week, I had the deed quietly transferred into my name. Every paper signed, notarized, filed. So the sale they thought they pulled off? It wasn't valid. And in 24 hours, they were going to learn what it means to betray the wrong daughter. Let's just say, they'd regret every single dollar I ever gave them. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat, watching the sunset spill red over my knees while their note crumpled in my fist. They really did it. Used me like a checkbook. Then tossed me like junk mail. But what they didn't know was this: while they schemed, I'd stopped trusting their words. I'd started reading the fine print. Let me explain how we got here. 6 months earlier, I was sleeping in my car after 12-hour shifts. I'd been crashing with a friend after my ex threw me out. But I hated feeling like a burden. That night my mom called, sobbing. "Hannah, we're about to lose the house. Your father made some bad investments. We're $280,000 in debt." That house was my only anchor. The porch where I had my 5th birthday. The stairs I crept down every Christmas morning. Losing it felt like losing a limb. I asked what happened to Grandpa's inheritance. Mom sniffled. "We gave it to your brother. You know how rough things have been for him. Ethan. The golden child. He wrecks every car, quits every job, cheats on every girlfriend. And somehow, they always protect him. Still, I couldn't stand to see my childhood home auctioned off. So I emptied my savings. Maxed out my credit cards. Even signed for a personal loan. They were stunned when I walked in with a manila folder full of cashier's checks. Dad went quiet. Mom dropped to her knees. "You're an angel," she whispered. They cooked me dinner. Snapped pictures. Posted online like I was some war hero. Me, I was just happy to finally be seen. That's what stung the most later. It wasn't just money they stole. It was the illusion that they loved me like they loved him. But that illusion was gone now. I was finished being their safety net. Because while they packed their bags for Florida, I finalized the deed transfer. They didn't even glance at the refinancing papers I slid under their noses. And now, standing on my gutted front lawn, the only thing I felt was power. They thought they stripped me of everything. But what they really gave me was the freedom to burn the bridge down. The next morning, I walked into the title office in a black hoodie and sunglasses. Not because I was hiding, but because I wanted the shock to hit them like thunder when the truth came. "Miss Blake," the clerk smiled, sliding the manila folder across the counter. "It's all official. The sale your parents attempted is void. The property is still legally yours." I nodded. Calm on the surface. Inside, I was fire. The buyers had already wired the money to my parents' account. But since the deed was never in their name, it meant fraud. A felony. I didn't want them behind bars. Not yet. Jail would be mercy. I wanted them exposed. Broke. Cornered. Humiliated. Outside, warm wind lifted my hair as I checked my phone, for missed calls from a Florida area code. I walked on. Let them sweat. That evening, I phoned the sheriff's office and filed a report for unauthorized attempted sale of property under my name. I emailed the buyer's agent every document I had. Within 2 hours, the sale was frozen. The movers? Sent back. But Mom and Dad were already gone. They thought they'd be sipping margaritas in Boca Raton by now. Instead, they were about to discover their dream house didn't exist. That their account would soon be locked under a legal hold. And their golden boy? Yeah, Ethan was about to learn what happens when his wife's fantasies collapse along with her broke, jobless husband. I waited. I didn't text. Didn't call. Didn't explain. I just wrote one line on Facebook. If you've ever been used, don't waste energy on anger. Get smart. And always read the deed. Then I shut off notifications. Let them spin. Let them spiral. That night I sat alone in the empty living room and laughed. Because I wasn't the girl begging for love anymore. I was the woman who owned the house. No. They were intruders in a world they thought they built. The first text came at 2:17 a.m. Where are you? Why is the bank saying the house isn't ours? Call me now. Then 2 missed calls. Then one from Ethan. Then another from an unlisted Florida number. I didn't answer. I lay in bed, lights off, phone face down, smiling into the dark. Let them rot in confusion. By morning they were unraveling. Ethan finally left a voicemail. His voice cracked, brittle with rage and panic. You need to fix this, Hannah. You ruined everything. Mom's having chest pains. Dad's screaming at everyone. We're out thousands. You think this is funny? You've got 1 day before we take legal action. Legal action? Against me? On a house I owned, bought with my own money, after being manipulated with hugs and crocodile tears? I made myself eggs and coffee while playing the message on speaker, just to hear it echo. Then I sent one group text. Under Florida law, attempting to sell property you don't own is fraud. I have full documentation. The sale is void. The funds will be returned to the buyers. And the house is still mine. Since you left so quickly, I figured you wouldn't mind me changing the locks. Silence. 3 hours later, another voicemail. This time it was Mom. Her crying was different now. Not the please save us sob. This was the sound of pride collapsing. Sweetheart, we made a mistake. We only wanted a fresh start. Your dad didn't mean what he wrote in the letter. He was panicked. Can we talk? No. You don't talk to people who stab you mid-hug. You walk away while they bleed out on their own blade. Instead, I called the HOA to report unauthorized listing activity. Updated city records to flag the property in dispute, just in case they tried again. I wasn't after revenge. I wanted accountability. When family weaponizes your love, you stop being their child. And become their reckoning. I knew Ethan would crack first. He always did. Pressure hit him like fire to dry leaves, fast, loud, pointless. He called me from a blocked number. I answered in silence. Hannah. His voice was low. Frayed. Claire left me. Took the kids. Said she can't stay married to a reckless man-child. She found Dad's letter, the one that called you a loser. She called me a parasite. He gave a bitter laugh. She's gone. They're all gone. I let him talk. Mom and Dad were sleeping on an air mattress in Uncle Brian's basement. He wouldn't let them stay more than a week. They wanted to come back and work things out. They wanted to move back into my house. Finally, I spoke. There is no we, Ethan. You made that clear the day you watched me empty my account and didn't even say thank you. Silence. They're your parents, Hannah. You'll really leave them on the street? I smiled so hard my jaw hurt. Funny. That's exactly what they did to me. No more pretending. I wasn't their golden goose anymore. I was the hammer. The next days, I transformed. New locks. New furniture. New life. I repainted the hallway that still bore pencil marks of my childhood height. Not to erase the past, but to stop letting it own me. Then a lawyer called. Their lawyer. He asked if I'd consider amicable restitution. A family-centered resolution. I asked one question, did they tell you they left me homeless 5 years ago? Said Ethan needed his privacy more than I needed a roof? Silence. Then, no, Ms. Blake. They didn't mention that. I hung up. I didn't need courtroom justice. I had something better. Closure. Peace. They could shuffle papers all they wanted. But the foundation was mine. The mortgage was mine. And their fake Florida fantasy? Dust. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped building the ones they used to trample me. The day a moving truck pulled into my driveway, I stood barefoot in leggings and a hoodie, sipping iced coffee like it was sacred. Neighbors waved. Some asked if my parents were moving back in. I smiled. No. Just clearing out the past. Making space for a future that's actually mine. Inside, I opened the hallway closet. Found Mom's wedding album. Ethan's dusty trophies. Dad's shoebox of unpaid insurance slips and unfiled taxes. I boxed it all. Labeled it return to sender. Taped it shut. Then I drove to Uncle Brian's. The smell of stale coffee and old laundry hit me at the door. Behind him, I saw them, Mom with frizzed hair, Dad with hollow eyes, Ethan on the floor scrolling like a ghost. I didn't step inside. Just set the box on the porch. Dad reached for it, hope flickering in his eyes. Hannah. You should have just said thank you, I told him. Instead of treating me like your bank account. Mom opened her mouth, but no words came. She looked thinner. Not from grief, from finally carrying her own weight. I turned to leave. But then Ethan stood. Hannah, wait. What are we supposed to do now? I paused. Then spoke the most honest words I'd ever said to him. Figure it out. Like I always had to. And I walked away. No shouting. No tears. Just my footsteps fading into their silence. That night I changed my number. Deleted the family group chat. Unfollowed every single one of them. And for the first time in years, my mind was quiet. No guilt. No pressure to be the good daughter. The fixer. The forgiver. They'd taught me love was transactional. So I gave them what they gave me. Nothing. Because when someone sells your kindness like property, you don't buy it back. You lock the door. And keep the key. Weeks passed. No calls. No texts. No apologies. Just silence. And it was the most peace I'd ever known. I spent mornings in the sunroom, reading books I'd once shelved to cover their bills. I repotted Mom's old orchids, the ones she swore were too fragile. They bloomed for me. I enrolled in a ceramics class. Painted the guest room ocean blue. And I transformed Dad's old office, the one I wasn't allowed to step into as a kid, into a studio for my own business. A space for me. Then one morning, an email arrived. From Claire. Not Ethan. Subject line, I know everything. And I'm sorry. She told me how it unfolded in Florida. How my parents treated her like unpaid staff, expecting her to cook, clean, and smile. While they burned through the leftover money from a sale that never was, on cruise brochures and champagne dreams. Then she found the letter. The one that started it all. She confronted Ethan. He blamed me. That was when she decided to walk away. I thought Ethan was a man, she wrote. But he's just your father in a younger body. And you? You're the only one who showed real integrity. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. If you ever want to talk, woman to woman, I'm here. I didn't reply. Not yet. Not because I was angry. But because I was finally protecting the one person I should have chosen all along. Myself. Sometimes healing looks like closure. Other times, it looks like keeping the door locked, even when someone knocks with sincerity. I wasn't ready to open it. But I didn't hate her for trying. As for Ethan? Word spread he was holed up in a cheap one-bedroom near Tampa. No wife. No car. No job. Just him and his entitlement. Last I heard, he tried flipping NFTs. It collapsed, of course. My parents? Uncle Brian kicked them out after 3 missed rent payments. Now they bounce between motels, posting blurry Facebook updates pretending life is fine. But I know better. Because when you tear down the only child who ever carried you, eventually the ground disappears beneath you. And the fall? It's quiet. Last week, I passed a homeless man by the fountain downtown. For a moment, I thought it was my father. Same slumped shoulders. Same hollow eyes of someone who gambled everything, and lost. But it wasn't him. I kept walking. Because I didn't owe pity to people who fed off my pain. That night, I lit a candle in the hallway. The one I used to hide in as they fought. I stood barefoot in silence. And I finally said it out loud. I did the right thing. Not because they suffered, but because I stopped. Stopped begging for love. Stopped paying to belong. Stopped handing out second chances like spare change. They thought they taught me strength through suffering. But I found my strength in walking away. The house, it's mine now. Every brick. Every inch. But it was never about the deed. It was about the peace. No more guilt trips wrapped in scripture. No more birthday texts from Ethan begging for just a little help. I blocked them all. Digitally. Emotionally. Permanently. Now I plant flowers where they buried resentment. I host friends who say thank you, and mean it. I laugh in the kitchen without hearing slammed doors down the hall. I even started writing again. A memoir, maybe. Not to expose. But to free. To remind myself. I am not the sum of what I sacrificed for others. I am the worth they never saw. And the home they'll never walk into again. Because this chapter didn't end in revenge. It ended in reclamation. I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped saving them from it.